Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of having, she is a person of many talents. She's a wrestler, a mixed martial artist, a photographer. She's the one and only Haven Pennington. Haven, what's going on?
Nothing much. How are you doing?
Doing good. Just kind of, man, California heat is a mother trucker. 90 degrees, it says on my computer. My computer hopefully won't overheat right now.
Totally understandable. It's super hot here. It's been 90s, so very hot and humid.
Yeah, well, again, we're in your region, 90s it comes with a tad bit of humidity. So it's amazing that you can have your hair kind of did, because it can go awry, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
100%. So I guess first and foremost, like, how did you get into the combat sports? I guess it would be through wrestling first, right? And so,
So
how did that come about?
I've always wanted to fight since I was little. I mean, I wanted to fight over wrestling any day of the week. Always looked up to Ronda Rousey. Oh my, every time. But my dad actually wrestled all through college and all through he was going to go wrestle in college, got offered a scholarship, wrestled through high school. He was state champ. He was good, really good. But then his brother actually wrestled and went to wrestle in college, but he was killed in a car accident, so he didn't get to wrestle. So I was going to wrestle because my brothers didn't want to. So I decided to wrestle, and I was like, I'll take it up. So I ended up wrestling for a while, but I really got into, MMA because he fought 3 times, but he went 3-0. And so I looked up to him because I wrestled already. So I already looked up to him, and I was like, you know what? I want to do that. So, and I was always the tomboy. I'm very girly, but I was always the tomboy. And so I just always enjoyed it. I played like every sport possible, but I haven't enjoyed anything as much as I'm enjoying MMA for sure. So.
Now, in terms of your dad, were there any siblings that you had that might have wanted to assume the mantle before you, or were you just like the one?
Well, I have an older brother. He's 22. He plays college baseball. He never really liked wrestling. It was just like my dad put him in it because he needed to try it. Just to try it out. Everyone has to try it. Mentally, it makes you tough. I mean, it's good. Gets you in shape all around. So, but he never really enjoyed it. So he's like, dang, the first boy's not going to enjoy it. Like, what am I going to do now? And I remember this conversation sitting in the living room. He's like, I don't know. I don't have any wrestlers in the family. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was like, I'll wrestle. And he's like, what? And I mean, I was little. And I still remember that conversation. And then I have a little brother. He actually did not want to wrestle, and now he does. I got a text from him my first year of college wrestling, and he was like, I'm actually enjoying wrestling. I actually want to wrestle. I watched your video, and it made me super happy. But now he's actually really enjoying it, and I could see him wrestling in college in the near future. He's a baseball player too, but big baseball family. But I could definitely see him wrestling in the future, so might make 2 of us.
Wow, that's crazy. And just to kind of put it into perspective, like what you saw in your dad, your little brother is now seeing in you, which is kind of fun.
It's awesome. I love it.
So, was there any trepidation? Obviously, you're a youth. As you're having this conversation with your dad, or actually kind of hearing your dad's kind of plea, like, "Oh my gosh, there's this wealth of knowledge," and I am a father myself, right? So, I wonder, what am I gonna leave to my kids? Of course, you could hopefully one day leave some means and what have you, right? But in terms of legacy stuff, things that are not tangible, right? Like, what are you gonna leave? And your dad, it's wrestling, right? And then you heard your dad's cry, which I think is amazing,
Exactly. No, he's definitely been a big impact on my life. Both of my parents, but a big impact because through thick and thin, he's always kept his head up mentally and physically. He's been in shape. He's getting back in shape. He's been a big impact. Positive, always positive. Mentally, always pushed me to be better. physically always pushing me to be better. He never lets my head rest. He always keeps me up. And I mean, I'm trying to be like him. So,
Now, did he have any trepidations? Like, did he like maybe you should do this? Like, or was it okay
well,
wrestling? We're doing that.
well, he did like the wrestling aspect of it because he didn't have a wrestler at the time. And I mean, like I said, he just now we have another wrestler in the family as of like this year, a year ago, something like that. So he always wanted me to wrestle for sure because I was the only wrestler. So I mean, if I don't wrestle, who else is?
Right.
And so yeah, he always liked the fact that I wrestled and wanted to. I mean, I played softball. He's a big baseball person, like I said, baseball coach. He's coached for 20 plus years, I think, if I'm correct.
What?
Yeah, baseball. But he's always, I mean, always pushed me. I played softball, I played soccer, I played basketball. He was my basketball coach. I know, wrestler playing basketball. You don't want to watch. It was embarrassing. I'm not a basketball player, but I played for years. But no, he always, I mean, was always leaning towards wrestling. And like I said, his brother went to wrestling college, but never got the opportunity. So that was another backstory of that. So I've always been pushed myself. And then on he's like, if you can do it, you might as well. Don't just drop it because you don't want to. I mean, keep on going. If you're good, you might as well keep on going too.
And it seems like a prevailing deal with your family. It's like, and maybe that is the kind of, again, the legacy of your dad, like this multi sport athlete, which, I mean, and it kind of it happens out of necessity at times where, like, hey, if you're a youth, and I'm taking it from your dad's point of view, right? And you love this sport, but you want to get in shape and what have you, and stay consistent. Well, you jump into another sport and whatever, find out you love that, and they kind of just like, I guess, teeter totter. It's all the way through.
Yeah.
But I mean, is that the prevailing deal? Like, was there an explicit like it said like we're all gonna do like everything?
Um, yeah, we've kind of just tried out everything because our goal is to, I mean, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it 110%. So, like, my sister's going to play soccer in college, but she did play every sport as well. And same with my brother wrestled and then thought about playing basketball. But we've always pretty much done every sport. Like, for example, my little brother is playing every single sport right now.
Right.
I mean, everything. Because I think you really figure out what you want to do. Because I feel like if you don't try them now, when are you going to? Because when you're older, you're going to regret not trying it out. You'll be like, I wish I could have done this. And they don't want us to look back and be like, I wish I could have. Instead, you did do it. So I think that's a big
1,000%. To live with at any phase of your life with any sort of regret, man. Life, especially after the last year that we have, we gotta hopefully
yeah.
realize life is too short. Just do it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Now, in terms of your perception of like what wrestling was, right? Did you have any preconceived notions? Was there any pointers your dad was giving you, and then things that you kind of immediately were drawn to, on the mats?
Well, I really like that it's a youth sport. It's not anyone else. No one else is out there wrestling. No one else out there is having to make weight, giving up. You don't give up in a match. That's all on you. It's all mental, but the mentality is all about you. The physical side of it is all about you. So you want to be fit. You want to make weight. That's on you. It's not on your coaches. It's not on anyone else. And then the mental side of it, that's your match. You're wrestling. No one else is wrestling. And mentally, it's like, the thing about wrestling is it doesn't matter. Someone could beat you. You could go turn around and beat them right back. I mean, it's not anyone else on a team. It's all about you. So it's easy to figure yourself out and your athletic side. And so he's pretty much taught me that the mental side of things is going to be about you and the physical. So it makes you mentally stronger and physically stronger at the end of the day. And I mean, that's what wrestling's taught me is you can be strong by yourself.
Now, did you? I mean, during your wrestling career, was that also kind of around the time that you were like looking at the ascension of Ronda Rousey and go like, "Hey, that could be a thing"?
So, I mean, I've always thought since I'm probably 11, 12, I've always been a big fan. Dad, buys the UFC fights every weekend. So I've always watched them, and I mean, I've been telling everyone, I'm like, I'm going to do UFC. I'm going to fight there. I mean, since I was little, I have a picture of Ronda Rousey has her hair in these space buns like 10 years ago. And I have a picture, and it's like I sent it to my dad, and I bet I could find it. And I have my space buns just like her. And I mean, I wanted to be just like her. I seriously looked up to her so much. I mean, she has had a big impact on everyone, especially for women in MMA. But I mean, I've always wanted to because it's just like I like the mental aspect, like I said. I like the physical side of it. But growing up, I've always just looked up to her and wanted to be like her. And I'm like, I'm going to do that someday. And I kind of put my mind to it. And I wrestled in college for a couple years. And I've enjoyed wrestling, but I've always wanted to do MMA. And so I'm like, you know what? Finally, it's time. I want to get to it. I don't want to waste any more time. I wish I would have started earlier than the 2 years, but it was good to get a couple years of college wrestling in for sure. But I'm super, super stoked about it.
No, 100%. And Jackie Gunny, a friend of the show, and I mean a black belt in a traditional martial arts in her own right. She says, "When you know, you know. Thanks to the catalyst who came before us, 100%. Standing under the influence of giants, I say. Now, obviously, I love how cheery you make wrestling, but it can be a grind. It could be a dogfight,
Yeah.
cutting weight. I mean, I think even still, this is my own personal opinion, but like, the weight cutting of MMA, I almost don't feel like it should be there. It's something that got carried over from wrestling and boxing as a way to get, mainly UFC, to get legalization by the state athletic commissions, right? But those things, right? Like, coming up in weight, jumping up in weight, your teammate gets injured and then you're filling into other place. It can be a damn dogfight, man. So what, I mean, obviously, as people are trying to, get back to a life that they once knew, right? They're having some hardships, but as cheery as you make wrestling, like, what was the hardest aspect of it, whether it be the mentality, the physicality, a particular situation, and how did you kind of like overcome it?
Well, I always did have a huge weight cut. I'd walk around about 133, 134, and I'd cut to 106. So I was cutting major weight, but we didn't have anyone at 106, and then I had to wrestle off at 13. And so I always had to cut that much weight and wrestle off. And you always got those comments like, oh, you're a girl, you can't do this. I'm like, really? I cut more weight than all of you guys. And then, I mean, the mental side of it, you would be on the mat. I still remember I had a match that went into, gosh, riding time. We went to the full time. And it was an intense match. And I was so tired. And my dad's like, don't give up. You've got this. While the other coaches are screaming at their kid. And this kid's already embarrassed because he's wrestling a girl. And the match is tied. And I'm like, you know what? Next takedown wins. And I've never been an offensive wrestler. I've been a defensive wrestler. So right here, I was like, I got to lock in. It's time. So I was like, I'm getting this takedown. And everyone this is the last match of the day. And everyone in the stands is watching. And so I'm like, I'm not losing to a boy. Are you kidding me? And so I'm like, this is my time. And I'm throwing him to a head and arm. Because, I didn't become an offensive wrestler until later in college. But I threw him into a head and arm. And I took him down, and his coach, was screaming. But I remember before I even took him down, his coach was like, she's a girl. Like, she's weak. She's not going to take you down. Don't lose to her. Putting me down. And that only fueled my fire. Wow. I was like, that just made me, so much more pumped than I was before. And I took him down, and I walked over to the coach, and I was like, I'm a girl. You're correct. And I walked off, and I was like, heck yeah. But I still remember that because mentally I'm like, that motivates me. Haters motivate me. Like, if you can talk your talk as much as you can, but at the end of the day, it's my mental and physical side that I determine how positive I am and how I want to be, and no one else affects that. So, that's always motivated me.
No, 1,000%. And that's a part that I think in my mind I glossed over. Like, there wasn't a women's wrestling team in your high school, right?
I was the only girl. Yeah.
what was that like? I mean, was there an instance where you kind of had to win over your teammates and possibly your coaches early on?
Yeah, so we actually are from Missouri, and we had moved to Oklahoma 7 years ago, I think, 6 years ago. And so I actually came in my freshman year, and they had wrote a whole article on our family coming in because my dad's a head baseball coach. And so came in, they're like, oh my gosh, a girl wrestler. And I remember the first time I came to practice, they were like, we did not expect you. Like, they had so many stereotypes. They didn't expect me to look a certain way or act a certain way. But I feel like wrestling on a team with all guys, it's like a lot of brothers, way too many sometimes. You have to deal with all their girl problems and everything else. But I enjoy it. I enjoy getting away from the girl side of drama and everything else. I mean, it's very chill. It's like just having a lot of brothers to deal with 24/7, and they will annoy the crap out of you. But they can also be there for you, be my best friends. And so I honestly enjoyed it. People are like, a room full of boys, gross. But I wrestled. Like, it's not like I'm like gross sweat because we're all sweating, cutting weight. So it didn't really bother me. But the brotherhood of it is on, like, I wasn't treated like a girl. Like, it was like I was one of the boys. And I mean, even as growing up in wrestling, I didn't tell a coach, like, you need to call me a girl. Like, you can call me one of the boys, like, when talking. Like, no need to call me out. I'm one of them. I'm not someone totally out of the loop. And so I've always been on a team. I mean, it's been like a brotherhood my whole life. So I've enjoyed the relationships with everyone. Sure.
No, I think it's beautiful, but it's not like you had it easy, right? Because in my
No.
estimation, like in St. Louis, this is a good wrestling team. You're going to Oklahoma, right? To me, the Eastern Seaboard, right, and Oklahoma, straight out Oklahoma, arguably how we regard as like the Russians and the Kazakhstans and whatever, like Habib and whatever. For the U.S., you're not going to find better wrestlers, than ones in Oklahoma, right? And you're coming from out of state. That had to
Exactly.
be rough.
Oh, it was definitely rough. Especially varsity. It's like, and cutting that much weight with being a girl, they're like, oh, she's gonna be weak already. So I'm like, oh, mentally, I have to stay positive after cutting 25, 27 pounds, somewhere around there. And then I'm like, physically, I'm not feeling too good, but as long as my mental side's good, we're okay. But there were some really good wrestlers. Like I said, I was the only girl, but every match, I think I only had one person forfeit a match throughout throughout my whole wrestling career. Only one person forfeited, and I'd heard of a lot of girls that had been wrestling, and the guys just wouldn't wrestle. So I was glad they wrestled because it gave me some opportunities for matches. But I mean, when I would go out there, it was everyone was watching that match because they're like, a girl wrestler, like, does she take it serious? And that's what a lot of girls struggle with. This, they're like, is that girl wrestler wrestling to wrestle, or is she just wrestling? And so I would have to prove to everyone and myself, like, I'm out here to win. I'm not out here to joke around. Like, I'm just like one of the boys. Don't look at me any different. And so if I was going out there, I wanted to go out there to win. I'm not just wrestling to wrestle. So our home matches were probably the most intense matches I've had in my life, with our home crowd. And then you have the crowd from the other school going, you're not losing to a girl. And then after you win, you're like, looky there. So.
No, yes, and Nate Wren says Haven Pennington, the pride of Grove, Oklahoma. There you go. Now, I mean, you were really and highly influenced by Ronda Rousey, but you're a pioneer in your own right. Which, I mean, did you get some of that, like the Ronda Rousey asked, where little girls are coming up to you and like, "Wow, I think I might be able to do this," or "I've aced my test because I saw you on the mats that day." What was, I guess, the the kind of response that you would get from younger girls or even boys that you motivated, by your effort of being a pioneer?
I never really realized until senior year and then going into college, like, wow, like, I can make a big impact on all of these girls wanting to wrestle. And I had gone into the room this last year to practice with my brother, and there was probably 4 girls in there just starting off, and they all knew my name and everything. And I was like, I had no clue, and it made me super happy because, like, if I can make a big impact on their life just wrestling, like, I think that's amazing. Because I mean, I looked up to Ronda Rousey, like I said, And I mean, I've never met her, and I'm like, she's doing big things, and it makes me want to work harder. So if I can be in person and I mean help them out, I mean, heck, if it makes their life better, I can practice with them as much as possible. But I mean, I've got a lot of messages on social media asking me a lot of wrestling questions, asking me, hey, like, is wrestling with boys like weird? Like, I mean, you'll have these little girls asking their girly questions, and then you'll have older girls asking, like, how are you mentally? How are you physically? Like, do you enjoy wrestling in college? And so, all around, I mean, I've had multiple girls, and it makes me happy to know that I can be someone they look up to. And I kind of remind myself, like, hey, like, I'm actually a lot higher up than I think, and then I put myself to, because I'll walk around, like I walked in the room, I said, I'm like, I don't think of myself as anything. I may have gone through Grove, and then gone and been the first Division 1, but I'm not like, oh yeah, like I'm Haven Pennington. I'm like, these girls look up to me, and I mean, I can do my best to help them mentally and physically, because it is a struggle. And I mean, you do, even though girls wrestling is like finalized in Oklahoma now, I mean, you still have the people going, oh, can I wrestle with boys? Like, are they going to start this? Are they going to do this? Like, so as long as I can help them, that's all that matters.
No, absolutely. You always want to hopefully come into a situation and leave it better than what you came into. So, I mean, for a whole generation, you're it.
Exactly. I know. I'm the girl. They know me as the girl wrestler. That's what my name is around here.
That's heavy. That's super heavy. Now, obviously, you've got this kind of like, I want to fight. I want to do MMA. So, was there a conscious like decision, like in your mind? You're like, okay, well, yeah, I'm still wrestling, and you couldn't have a better base, a better foundation for MMA, right, than wrestling. You could take your wrestler to box, and you'll have amazing results. And a wrestler give him or her a little bit of jujitsu. Well, great. You get a great fighter. It's harder to do the other way around, to have a
Yeah.
striker go into a grappling aspect of the sport. So, at what point did you kind of make the fundamental switch to MMA?
Well, like I said, I've always wanted to do it. I started off, so I've wrestled forever. So I was like, you know what? I've got my wrestling down. Most girls that are fighting right now don't have the wrestling background. They have more of a boxing background. And so I'm like, that's a positive, because I will have wrestling. They don't. And I was like, if I go into boxing, learn my boxing, learn jujitsu, I'll be fine. But if I know my skills on the mat and my takedowns, I should be fine. Because at the end of the day, if I can take someone down, then I can throw some hammers. But going in, I'm glad that I went from wrestling to boxing. And like I said, I wrestled because I knew that at one point I would fight in my life, and I've always wanted to. But through NCAA, I couldn't fight. And so I made the mental connection going, you know what, I'm going to fight, because NCAA does a lot of training outside of wrestling, especially at a Division 1. And then your coach's policies. And I was like, you know what, I don't want to live under all of those rules and policies anymore. I want to be able to fight. And so even though I did make history being a first Division 1 for the full ride, I was like, I think it's time to fight. And mentally, I mean, I've been telling my dad the last 2 years, I was like, I just think it's time. I kept wanting to do it, and I just hadn't. And I was like, I'm going to wrestle another year. And I was like, no, I don't have to wrestle. Like, mentally, I was like, I came here to wrestle. I need to finish it out. I was like, you know what? I want to fight. It's time to go. Like, and you only have so much time in life. And if I want to do that, I was like, I'm going to push myself to do that, because that's what I enjoy. And even though I hadn't trained in all of it yet, I knew already that I wanted to do it. And so I thought it was time to finally start.
No, 1,000%, and no time like the present. Which, I mean, did you kind of know of like striking coaches? Well, what was like the mindset? Like, am I gonna learn striking first? Maybe jujitsu? Because again, you had an amazing base to kind of build upon. You could have gone either way and done fine. But what was like the next step after leaving the NCAA ruling and the coaches ruling, which have you heard of IBJJF? That's probably one of the most restrictive, jiu-jitsu competitions ever. So, unfortunately, if you think you left, well, guess what? If you do like a high-level jiu-jitsu, it's still there. There's kind of meandering rule sets and what have you.
Yeah.
But like, where did you go? Did you do striking? Did you do more submission-based grappling?
So, my dad has hookups. He's the one that's behind the scenes, getting all this done for me, figuring out who to train with, where I'm going, and he's doing as much research on everyone as he can because he wants to make sure I have what's best for me. Um, so I wrestled, and I was like, you know what? Why would I start out on the mat again if I have mat skills? And I want to be able to fight sooner than later. And I'm like, if I have my mat skills, why don't I start striking? Why don't I start boxing? Because at the end of the day, I'm going to be needing my boxing more than jiu-jitsu if I have my wrestling. And so I wanted to go from wrestling to striking, and I'm going to go to jiu-jitsu. Well, I'm actually starting now. But that's kind of why I did the process that way, is because I have my mat skills. I'm not too worried. If I need a takedown, I can get a takedown. I know what I'm doing on the ground. So I needed my hand work and some feet work, and then I was pretty much set because I just have to, for jiu-jitsu, you just have to watch yourself. Just don't get stuck in anything. So, and I figured I should learn that pretty quick because wrestling kind of moves into jiu-jitsu. It's just little, submissions and more legal stuff. So that's the route I took in Mossberg, and I moved to Joplin, or near Joplin, Carthage, and I was like, heck yeah, that's a good opportunity. So, I mean, I've been planning on it since he was planning on moving here. And so I was excited, and I was like, heck yeah, he was only an hour away. Perfect. So.
Wow. Speaking of cool gyms, Tyson Duckworth, the reigning and defending Alaskan fighting champion, featherweight champion. He says Ketchikan Fight Club in the house, Ketchikan, Alaska. So shout out to you guys there. Hopefully it's a lot cooler in Alaska than it is here, right?
Real.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, training with Ryan, man, we kind of like got this whole thing started because of your teammate Cash Jones, right, who just won his MMA debut not too long ago. So, training with Ryan Mossberg, he's probably one of the unsung heroes of like that kind of Oklahoma, Missouri region. But how has it been training with him? Because you've had a lot of great coaches throughout your wrestling career, but he the way that he attacks the sport of the sweet science of boxing is almost unheralded.
Oh yeah, he's a great coach in and out of practice. I mean, I'll go to practice and I'll leave 10 minutes, and then he's sending me videos going, hey, we're working on this next time. We're working on this next time. Watch this. This is what we need to do. I mean, he's constantly thinking. His mind's always going, you know what? Got to get better. Got to get better. And when you have a coach pushing you to do better, it's a lot easier. And communication-wise, I mean, it's awesome. He's a good coach. I mean, great coach, like I said, in and out of practice. If you need something, he's there. He's got it. But he's always working better for you. Like Cash and I were talking about, he's always, you know what, watch this video. We're working on this next time, new combinations. And he's not just one of those coaches that's a few months out of the year. He's been constantly working. He's not just in and out. He's always in mentally. So, and he's always working. He's like new spots. We'll be at practice, and I mean, he tells you what to do, and it's not like he's not mean. I mean, I told Cash he can yell at you guys as much as he wants. No, but I'm the only girl, so. But he's always working with us, always trying to better us. Even when he's working full days, he'll be like, hey, let's go get some practice in. Even if he's tired, you know what, wake up early. He'll stay up late if we got to practice. I mean, he's always making time for us, so he's awesome.
And stuff like that, and stuff like having your dad's support, and I mean, like literally putting it in the Google machine of places in the area where you can go train and what have you. I mean, those are things that, yes, it might have been hard to leave a full ride scholarship or what have you, but there's like kind of little blips along the way that kind of tell you like, I'm on the right path.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell I'm on the right path. Relationship wise, God's plan all along. I mean, God has a plan for what I'm doing and what I'll be doing and what my future plans are. So my dad's a little bit of a leeway. He's like, this is what we're going to do. Cause sometimes I'm like, oh, I'll do this. And then, I'll do it a week later. But he's like, all right, we're going to get this straight. He'll sit down and be like, we got to get this straight. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. And so with having him, it's I got everything on top of everything, and he support me 100%. My parents are supporting me 100%, and having them for support helps for me to keep pushing, because I'm like, you know what, I got this in line. So he, we had a sit down conversation the other night, and he's like, let's get things sorted out, make sure we're on the right path, and we're doing what you want to do. He said, at the end of the day, I enjoy it, but it's what you want to do. And so we went over it. I'm like, sounds like a good plan to me. And so I've got everything lined up right now, and I think I'm ready to rock and roll.
Heck yeah, man. I can't wait because, again, all of these things, right? These are, to me, outliers, right? The fact that your dad, kind of had this moment like, oh, I don't have all of this knowledge to bestow on anyone else, right? The fact that you were essentially a shining star, to a beacon of hope for a lot of female athletes in a male-dominated role, right? Getting that full ride scholarship, all of these things, right? It's almost like it's like rocket fuel. It's literally like ushering you to another stratosphere. Like it's kind of crazy.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I said. They're like, girly, you're girly and you fight. I'm like, okay, you can be girly and fight. That's fine. And so, I had some little girls. There was someone at Cash's fight. Some girl, she's like, are you Haven Pennington? And these girls are from this girl's from California. I think she was 12 or 13, maybe. Her brother was fighting. But I was like, how do you know who I am? Like, I did not expect one person to know my name. And I was like, it's crazy because you don't realize how big of an impact you actually have on people.
Yeah.
So
No, and it's actually funny with in terms of Cash's fight. That's a promoter that used to live here in California. The J Street Fights of a different name is Cali Cage Wars, where a lot of female fighters have basically cut their teeth in the pro ranks, before moving on to Invicta and the LFAs and what have you. I think Limele McFarland, former Bellator champion, actually had a couple of her first pro fights there, and then he moved down, to your region, and it's J Street Fight. So yeah. That's why there was a lot of California contingents.
a lot of a lot of
Yeah, yeah. No, Nate Wren, who's a photographer and boxer in his own right, he says Haven Pennington is going to be one of the few photographers to fight professionally, which I gotta ask, right? Like, as if your time and day isn't, having such demands for it anyway, right? You take up photography, which, again, it's another art, much like wrestling, much like MMA and what have you. But it is also time consuming. But how did you get into photography?
I've always enjoyed it. I don't know. When I was little, I was like, you know what? I want to do that. I always saw you would look at pictures beforehand and you could see what you can do with them. And I always had the talent to do it. And my family will give me crap all the time because if they don't take a picture right, I'm like, oh my gosh, do not take it like that. That looks awful. And I'll correct them every little way, and they'll tell you even. But I've just always enjoyed it, and taking pictures of people. And it's happy too, because even if you can make someone feel better about themselves, it makes my day 100% better. And most of the time, I just do free photo shoots. So I'm like, hey guys, you want to go shoot? Because you'll have some photographers that are charging an arm and a leg when someone wants some pictures. And they're really good, but it's a lot of money. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take some for you. But I just enjoy, editing and making things a little more colorful. And if it makes someone's day, it makes my day. So I'll get in front of the camera. I enjoy doing photo shoots. I enjoy taking people's pictures. It's fun to me.
Well, more power to you, mademoiselle, because you said something like, I enjoy editing. One of the reasons why this thing is live is I hate editing. So more power to you.
I do enjoy it. I don't know why. I like just seeing things get better, I guess.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it, and I don't know if you probably, as insightful as you are, you probably realize this, but photography is a art of optics, right? Different points of view, right? Different visualizations, right? That there's nuances that you're going to get, right, via the lens that you might not see in plain eye, right? Has that helped you in terms of looking at things, in terms of your burgeoning MMA career? You're going like, hey, I thought this, but looking at it from a different point of view, well, it's something completely different.
I mean, you're right. It does help me to really focus on things because, I mean, being behind the camera, you're like, oh, I'm focusing this and this around it. But I mean, mentally, I'll look and be like, you know what? I don't need to look at anything around this. I'll focus on just this one point. And when 20 million things are going at once, I'm like, I only need to be here. It doesn't matter what's happening around me. It doesn't matter what's going on over there, what's going on over here. Like, right in front of me is what matters. And just to keep my head straight because, like I said, in photography, you have 20 things going around here. You got to edit this out, and you're making sure to get the person right in the middle of the camera. Just focus straight in front of you and keep on going and leave everything out that's on the side to itself.
No, 100%. Now, I think it's funny because Hunter Clift says, giving you a little bit of the business. Haven, log off and hit the gym, bro.
Oh man, I've lifted for 3 years now. You know, I really never enjoyed it. I was like, lifting, really? People don't realize lifting's a mental and a physical thing. You know, physically seeing yourself get better, you're like, wow, I'm gonna keep doing this. But mentally, it's like, I don't know. It's different because you'll be like, oh, wow, you know, my arms are getting bigger. I'm getting more toned. And mentally, you're like a lot more positive. And Hunter and I we go to the same gym. I told him I'm going to get bigger than he is. But, you know, I just enjoy lifting and I like seeing myself get better. And I mean, I've looked at, pictures from a year ago today and I'm like, dang, I've been putting in some work. And it shows people like, you can get better and you as long as you put in the work because I'll have people messaging me because I have that fitness account as well. And they're like, hey, like, will you make a diet for me? Will you do this? I'm like, I can, but at the end of the day, if you're not putting in work, if you're not lifting, if you're not doing your cardio, you're never going to look how you want to look. I mean, in foods, everything as well. And, you know, I kind of get this fitness side. Like I said, I'm in the gym. I do not miss a day at the gym. You know, you're supposed to take some rest days, but part of me is just like, I cannot take a rest day. I just don't feel okay if I take a rest day. But my mom did physique bodybuilding. And so she was, shredded, and she's still an animal. She's 40. She'll be 44 next month and a half, and she looks amazing. I mean, hot mama. But she's always in the gym, and she's always stayed fit. I mean, 4 kids later, and we get asked if we're sisters all the time. Actually, it's crazy. Yeah, she looks amazing, and so I look up to her 100% because she's always in the gym. Wakes up at 4 a.m. for CrossFit every day. I mean, she is determined. And then right after, she goes to the gym to lift. And she'll go run at night. I can't even keep up. I'm like, heck, I got to go to the gym every day if she's doing that much and she's 44. I got to look that good. No pressure, right?
No pressure. But those are the things, right? Your dad, right? Yeah. Multi-sport athlete in his own right, undefeated MMA fighter. Your mom, literally like a fitness bodybuilder who's still shredded to this day. Those are those
she
things.
ran track, in college. She had the record, too.
It makes perfect sense. The way you are and your brothers are the way that you all are. Like, you had a great template in your parents to be like, oh, like, don't take no shit, first off, and work hard and do what you can every day just to get incrementally a bit better, a bit better, a bit better. That's where you guys get it from.
Exactly. Oh, 100%. Always, I told you, they're always mentally and physically pushing us and making sure we're getting better and making sure we've got what we need and what we want. So they're behind us 110%. They're helping us with our goals no matter what they are. Even if it's not something they want, they're still, you know what, you want to do it, we'll do it for you.
That's so brilliant. I absolutely love that. Now, in terms of, your kind of lifting regimen, are you kind of like the CrossFit aspect of it? Are you doing like kettlebells and weight body exercises, or just like pumping iron as Arnold used to do, slanging and banging? Do you have a preference, or you kind of just do it all?
I tried CrossFit. I liked it, but it's not my forte. I don't mind waking up early. I mean, there's some later classes, but I like it. But I feel like I like working out on my own in the gym, but I lift. So I'm always, I want to get stronger. So I like seeing the improvement in the gym. So I'm a big lifter. Cardio, I started doing more cardio. It's not like I enjoy it, but you got to do it as a fighter. So you don't really have an option. But lifting over everything. If you ask me any day to lift, I would go lift. I'd rather go lift than go do something. I mean, I got asked to go shopping the other day. I'm like, heck no. Yesterday I went on the lake and I was like, I'm not going on the lake until I go to the gym because I knew I wasn't going to be able to later. So yeah, I enjoy the lifting aspects of it. And then, like I said, cardio. I'm not a big CrossFit person. It's more my mother. Good for her, but not really my thing. I like the mental aspect of, I can do it alone. I can lift on my own. I'm not a big, I can live with some people, but I don't need a lifting partner. I can,
There's no shame in it. I mean, especially with the CrossFit aspect of it. Put in the Google machine, the founder of CrossFit, and you might find a portly gentleman from Canada that looks like he's never ever worked out any of the regimen that he basically institutes in his gym. So I'm just saying.
Exactly. I can build the body I want without CrossFit. I got it.
Nothing against it. Nothing against it at all.
No,
but I
nothing
just think,
against it at all.
yeah.
It's good. It's hard work. It really is. But I mean, I can't really, go into CrossFit, then go into lift, go into boxing, go into do cardio. By the time I'm like, that's 4 workouts. So when I can get it all in at the gym and then having to drive out there and get it done. So it does hold you accountable. I do like that about CrossFit. You pay for your classes, you got to go.
No, 100%. Which, the lake story for some reason kind of stuck out. Do you find yourself when you're away from the gym kind of doing gym things like, you could be fishing and you find yourself in a curl or really like you're basically like strangling a minnow, but making it look like it's an isometric kind of workout or whatever. I know those guys and girls all the time. Like they're standing up against the wall and the next thing you know, you look over them and they're doing push-ups against the wall, and you're just...
Yeah, well, it was like a week ago. We were carrying in water bottles, my little brother and I, and we started curling them. We started curling the water bottles. We're like, heck yeah, who can lift the most? But, I mean, it's even, you catch yourself after lifting, you're like looking at your arms, and I went out with one of my friends that also wrestled in high school and coached in college, and she's coaching high school right now. We went out yesterday, and we're like, I looked at her, I was like, your arms are looking good. She's like, yours are looking toned too, as we're on the jet skis. So you realize those little things after you're in the gym for a while. And I mean, as much as I enjoy it, I'm like, that's all I think about half the time. So if I could work out all day, every day, I would, but my body would be a little tired.
Yeah, you gotta rest at some point, and that's one thing, especially with the MMA record. Somebody and I was talking to earlier, I think maybe yesterday. We're talking about Donald Cowboy Cerrone, as great of a fighter as he is. Maybe he might have a little bit more zeros in his bank account if he had said, "Hey, maybe I'm not gonna fight 3 times in a month," and what have you. Now that's everything that we love about Cowboy Cerrone, but could it have been more advantageous if he had gotten a little bit more rest in between fights?
Exactly, and rest is a big key component. I was telling Cash Jones, the one that just fought, I was like, man, I feel like I just can't take rest days. He's like, if you want to get better, you got to rest. I'm like, you know what, you're right, but I don't want to. I want to get in the gym, I want to keep getting better. And he's like, it's all about rest. And so, I've been resting a little more, but at the end of the day, I'm like, I just want to get in the gym. I want to get better. And I mean, you got to really take some time, because at the end of the day, I took a week off when we went on my sister's senior trip. And I was like, a week off? Are you kidding me? I cannot do this. And I got back and I actually felt better than before taking 7 days off, which is crazy. So after that, I was like, you know what? Mentally, I was like, maybe I should start taking some more rest, because that's what matters. Your body's going to start hurting if not.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't. That's when those nagging injuries kind of become a little bit more apparent. Is like when you don't take that siesta that you might need.
Exactly. No, 100%. You start to get sore. You start to hurt. Especially as doing MMA, I'm like, I'm gonna need to take some rest here and there.
No, 1,000%, man. It's physically taxing and daunting. But I mean, something that isn't daunting is it can be for a completely different aspect. But Nate Rand says, in regards to the photography, keep at it with the photography and network a lot, because you'll be surprised about the gigs you'll land even in between fights.
Heck yeah, I'm excited. I hope so. I love photography. It's just something I do for fun. I don't even need to get paid to do it. I'll just go out and do it for fun. I'll text people like, "Hey, want to go take pictures?" Like, I enjoy it. It's like the gym, just something I could always do.
No, 100%. I dig it. I dig it. And again, especially in this day and age where, a generation ago were the last kind of generation where you could stick on one job and be there for life. Like those opportunities in these day and age, things are constantly evolving. Heck, I mean, the things that were probably going to be in 5 years' time literally kind of brought itself upon the whole 2020, people having to adapt and
Oh
cashless
yeah,
this and
big
what have
changes.
you. Yeah, so your willingness to adapt and having more tools in your, I guess, satchel, right? Of life's little goals and tools of the trade, the better off you'll be.
Exactly. No, I mean, yeah. After this year, everyone's like, you can balance 100 things at once and be fine with it.
No, 1,000%. But speaking of like the thousand, things that you could be doing at once, right? Well, obviously, man, you are absolutely motivated in many things, and many things that are absolutely hard to kind of regular people, Jills and Joes. But in terms of downtime, like what are you listening to, music wise, movies you're watching that also kind of recharge your batteries? So when you do get back on the mats, the gyms, training with Ryan Mossberg, like that kind of sets you into this other stratosphere. What motivates you?
You know, I like all of the music. I listen to Christian music. Got my Christian music on in the morning. Got it on at night. I mean, gets me, yeah, gets me up in the morning. Stays positive. I love my Christian music. Country music. Being from Oklahoma, you got not the new country. I mean, the older country, more the red dirt kind of music. Can't be listening to the pop. It's all like pop music now. But I'll turn my rap music on occasionally at the gym. Finally found a good playlist. I can't listen to slow music in the gym. I gotta stay motivated, get going. Ryan will be like, "What kind of music you want?" I'm like, "Hey, it doesn't matter." I mean, like if I'm in the zone, I'm like, it might not matter more, but I'll put the country music on when we're in boxing. I mean, other Cash doesn't like country music. Sorry to call him out, but we gotta fix that because it's not acceptable.
Ooh,
so
ouch.
well, at least I'll put the country music on because Ryan enjoys it, but we'll fix him later. But yeah, pop music all the way. I mean, got the rap on at the gym, got the country music playing while I'm in the car, got my Christian music on in the morning and at night. It's pretty much how it goes.
So, what is I guess, either the genre of music or maybe even the song that Ryan or Cash might have played in the gym when you were in your zone, right? That you were surprised that you liked?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It depends. If we're all in there, the last time we were all training together, it was kind of just here and there, all kinds of music. It didn't really matter. When I'm in the zone, I really don't pay attention. Um, so I'm not like, oh, play this music, because my mind's just set right on training. But Ryan will kind of put what he wants to put on, or Kyle, who we train with, put on what he wants to put on. But we don't let Cash take the aux because his music's a little slow. So
Ooh.
yeah, I know
Your
the call
music's
out.
slow, bro. Did you kind of razz him on that a little bit?
I
What
can't
do
get
you?
pumped up to that kind of music. No.
I can't get jiggy with this ish, is what you're
Uh-uh.
saying. Oh,
Exactly.
oh, sorry, Cash. He's a pro wrestling fan, so that's.
Exactly.
I think so.
Take my point right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's here nor there. I might be a wrestling fan too. I mean, it happens. It happens. Now,
Yeah.
uh, obviously, cutting weight. It's a crazy thing, right? But you did it for a good reason, right? You had something that you were motivated by, right? This competition that you wanted to compete and win at, dominate, right? But after, when you can let your proverbial hair down a little bit, what is your like favorite post training meal that isn't like that isn't in the Atkins diet or the ketogenic what have you? Like I mean, Oklahoma, you guys got hell of amazing barbecue. So what is it for you? Your indulgence?
this sounds weird, but I always, after cutting weight, always wanted chocolate milk. But I love sweet potatoes. That sounds so weird. But I
Nope.
like for Thanksgiving, I never got to eat Thanksgiving food. And so I would always see my grandma makes these sweet potatoes with marshmallows and brown sugar, the best ever. And for things always makes them, doesn't matter. And so I finally got to eat them this last Thanksgiving, and I was so happy. But I always craved those after because I never got to have them for years. But I'm so simple. I could eat a PB and J and be fine. I've been eating really healthy, and like I'm not a huge sweets person just because I've been staying in order. But I mean, my mom's cooking, anything she makes, wonderful. I don't have to have a certain meal, but I could go for a simple PB and J and some sweet potatoes, and I'll be fine.
What are your feelings on sweet potato fries?
I don't. It depends how you make them. Sometimes they're a little too greasy. I'm not a fried food person.
Okay.
I mean, it's decent, but I'm not a big fried food person. As long as they're like healthy and like actually naturally cut. Because I had like the sweet potato tater tots one time. They were okay, but too much grease.
Yeah, I think at times it's almost like vegan food, right? Where they're trying to convince the not like those connoisseurs of the meats and what have you to like, hey, walk on our side a little bit. That they kind of inhabit some of the unhealthy traits of that genre of food. So that's what happened, and I'm sorry that kind of that soured your taste because that happens here in LA as well. Like you're like, oh, this place is healthy, and then you read the calorie count, and it's like, oh no, it's not at all. I might as well grab
No,
a
it's
Big
not.
Mac.
They're like, oh, sweet potatoes on the menu, put this on the menu. I'm like, yeah, no, not very healthy. They're a triple the carbs, triple the calories.
Yeah. The sodium and the sugars too, man. It's a
Yeah.
bad recipe. But speaking of things that aren't bad, Gas Jones says my music taste is immaculate. Don't let her fool you.
I don't know about that. It's a
Ouch.
little rough. We're working on, like I said, we're working on the country music. He'll get there soon.
Oh.
He lives in Arkansas. He's working on it.
Yeah, those are bastions for country music, isn't it?
Yeah. I saw on the Oklahoma side, once you start listening to it, then you'll be like, you know what, this is really good. Like, we'll figure it out sooner or later.
I still call Hootie, even though he's like Darius Rucker, a country guy or whatever. He's Hootie. Like, I only want to be with you. That's how I saw him or whatever. I almost like, or even like John Mayer. John Mayer had like a country album, and I was like, it's
Oh,
cool.
yeah. Yeah.
Cool story, bro. But like the song that he has out now, it's full of synth and like almost his ode to '80s music. I'm like, oh, okay, you're back, dude. Right on.
You're
I
back.
love
I know
it.
they got lost for a while and they started turning into like this pop country, and I was like, what is happening? Some of them are coming back though. We're doing okay.
Yeah, no, 100%. But speaking of comebacks, you've made, you're almost a chameleon in terms of your versatility for all things wrestling, all things art, all things fitness, right? But you, I mean, you couldn't have gotten here alone, right? Everything that you've accomplished,
Sure.
right? To the extent where, I mean, people are, they know you by first name, just beyond an Instagram post and what have you. But, to get all of that acclaim, you had to have an amazing kind of stable of people around you to usher you into where you needed to be and where you are now. So, even take as long as you like. Let's get some shout outs out of the way.
All right. First, my parents. They've been behind me every step of the way because I'm an indecisive person. And shout out to them for dealing with it because I'm like, I think we can do this. I'm like, no, I'll probably do it at this time. I'll do it a week later. And like I said, they sit me down. They're like, you got to get it done. We got to figure it out. And I mean, even my dad said before I was like, I'm going to go into MMA. He said, at the end of the day, honey, it's your decision. It's not mine. He said, even if I want you to do it, he said, it's yours. I mean, if you want to do this, if you want to get a degree in this, you can get a degree in this. I mean, it's not me at the end of the day. He said, I'm just here to support you. I'm here to help you. Both of my parents, very supportive people, always there for me. My family in general, they're all behind me, always backing me. My church family, always there. In high school, I was led worship for 4 years. So that was exciting. But yeah, shout out to Mount Movers Church, amazing. And then Ryan Mossberg, he's helping me indefinitely. I mean, like I said, always sending me something. I mean, you already shot me a text today. He's like, want to get some work in? I'm like, of course, can't miss a day. But no, he's helping me a lot, and so that means a lot. Cash, thanks for the shout out, giving me on here. And I've got some room to I got to work now because he's winning. I got to keep the winning streak alive. So shout out to him, and then Kyle and Theron as well, as they're working with Ryan. And then all the people that have helped me, coaches in general, big thank you, because I wouldn't be the person I am or where I was today. And so it means a lot. But for sure, my parents 100%, because they're always behind me no matter what. So.
That's brilliant. That's it. To have a core foundation, that's what you need. And what you can do with that core foundation, again, to the moon.
Exactly. No, as long as you have the people backing you behind you, you're always good. Like I said, keep a small circle. You don't ever need a big circle. Small circle.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Haven, for those who want to get more of what you're doing, whether it be photography, your regular social media accounts, where is the best place they can find out more about Haven?
So my Instagram account is Haven Justine, which is HavenJustine, and that's my main account. And in my bio, I have my fitness account and my photography account linked. And then you can just look up Haven Pennington on Twitter and Facebook. I haven't used Twitter much, but I'll try to get back on there. I'm on Facebook a decent amount, so you can find me on there as well. And then always shoot me a message, DM. I'll answer. I'll get to you.
No, 100%. Again, Haven, I couldn't be more honored to have you on. You're just tremendous. And again, like, Cash was just like, no, you got to have Haven on. Like, you think I'm an incredible wrestler? That one there. But she craps on my music taste. So I kind of knew that.
He deserved it. It's fine.
No, but thank you so much. And thank you guys for joining us here at According to Woods. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I mean, Haven, you're subscribed to the podcast, aren't you?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Dang right. So be like Haven. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. But if you don't believe me, you don't believe her, and I don't know why you wouldn't, here's pro wrestler Zeta Zhang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe.